Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You've sent in some really interesting material this time. It's all focused on learning more effectively, using, science-backed strategies.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I think, we all grapple with, that feeling of being overwhelmed by just how much there is to learn and wanting to pick things up faster.
Definitely. There's just so much information out there.
So our mission today is to take these insights you provided and make them really actionable for you listening. Whether you're tackling a new language, maybe a skill for work, or, just feeding your curiosity.
Exactly. And understanding how our brains actually work when it comes to learning, that's incredibly powerful.
Great. So let's kick off with the fundamentals. How does the brain actually learn best? It's not just like magic.
Yeah. No, definitely not magic. What's really key is repetition, and also how the brain connects new stuff to what you already know.
Okay.
Think of it like building a network. They use this image of building bridges between ideas.
Building bridges. I like that.
Yeah. And every time you revisit that information, you reinforce those connections. They get stronger, more reliable. It's a bit like, say, practicing a musical instrument.
Right. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Muscle memory, almost.
Exactly. But for your brain pathways.
So it's definitely not enough to just, read something once and assume it's sunk in. You have to actively do something with it.
Precisely. And that brings us to active learning. This is a big one. The transcript highlights research. They even mention a Harvard study showing that active methods lead to much better understanding and recall. Way better than just passively listening to a lecture, for example.
So being passive is just letting it wash over you.
Pretty much. Active learning is about engaging, practicing, really trying to get a deep grasp of the concepts, not just surface level reading.
Okay, so maybe instead of just reading that report, I should try summarizing it or explaining the main points to someone else.
Yes, perfect examples. And then to make sure that information really sticks around long term, there's another strategy, spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition. Okay, tell me more.
Well, instead of cramming, trying to learn everything the night before, you review the material at increasing intervals. Do it after a day, then maybe again a few days later, then a week later, and so on. You space out the reviews.
Ah, okay. That actually sounds way less stressful than the all-night cramming sessions I remember from school.
Agrees. It is. And the science backs it up. The transcript mentions tools, things like flashcards or apps like Quizlet or Anki. They're designed specifically for this.
Right, I've seen those.
Yeah, they automate the scheduling. The key is consistent, ongoing review, not a frantic sprint. Think of it like watering a plant gradually. You don't just dump a whole bucket on it once a month.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, another thing I struggle with, and I bet a lot of listeners do too, is just focusing. Maintaining concentration when learning something new.
Oh, absolutely. You're definitely not alone there. Those marathon study sessions, trying to power through for hours, they can actually backfire.
Really? How so?
Well, you get mental fatigue, right? And your ability to actually retain information decreases. Shorter focus bursts. Much more effective generally.
Okay, and is that where the Pomodoro technique fits in? I've heard that name bounced around.
Exactly. That's the one. It's pretty straightforward. You work focused for about 25 minutes, then take a short, 5-minute break. Repeat.
5 minutes on, 5 minutes off.
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
Yeah.
Does it actually help?
What's interesting is how it aligns with our natural attention spans. It helps maintain that concentration during the 25 minutes. And critically, it prevents that burnout feeling.
Okay.
The transcript uses a neat analogy. It's like eating smaller, regular meals throughout the day instead of one massive feast. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does. Avoid the food coma, or the brain coma in this case.
Exactly. Those little breaks let your brain reset, recharge. It makes the whole study process feel less daunting somehow.
I like that idea. Reframing breaks not as procrastination, but as part of the strategy. Yeah. Now, the transcript also mentioned something about there being no single perfect way to learn.
Yes, absolutely. No magic bullet. The most effective learners tend to mix things up. They don't just stick to one method, like only reading textbooks.
Though they diversify.
Exactly. They might read, but they'll also watch videos on the topic, maybe listen to podcasts, try to practice it in real life if possible, combine different approaches.
So, using my language learning example, again, it's not just grammar drills, it's also watching shows in that language, trying to chat with people, even if I make mistakes.
Definitely. Engaging different senses, seeing, hearing, doing, helps your brain process and crucially encode that information in multiple ways. It makes the memories richer, more resilient.
Ah, okay.
Right.
Like creating more paths to the same information in your brain.
Precisely. The transcript mentioned reading a book on something and then listening to a podcast about it. You get different perspectives, different ways of explaining it. It really deepens the understanding.
This is all really practical stuff. Okay, another key point, and one we often sacrifice when we feel busy. Sleep.
Oh, sleep. Yes. Hugely important. The transcript calls it the save button for your brain, which is a great way to put it, I think.
The save button. How so?
Well, neuroscience research shows that while you're asleep, your brain isn't just switched off. It's actively working to consolidate memories, organize the information you took in during the day, basically filing it all away properly.
So pulling an all-nighter to cram for an exam, that might actually be working against me.
It really might. Lack of sleep seriously impacts your ability to recall what you studied so hard to learn. Your brain didn't get the chance to, well, save it properly.
Wow. Okay.
And interestingly, the transcript even hints that reviewing material shortly before you go to sleep could be beneficial.
Really? Why is that?
Because your brain then has that whole quiet, uninterrupted period overnight to process and solidify that specific information.
Huh. Maybe I should swap my late-night social media scroll for a quick 10-minute review session, though.
Shouldn't hurt to try.
Okay, shifting gears just a bit. The transcript also touched on something less technical, maybe, more intrinsic. Curiosity.
Ah, yes, curiosity. It's a powerful natural fuel for learning.
How does that work, scientifically speaking?
Well, when you're genuinely curious about something, when you start asking questions, your brain kind of lights up. It becomes much more receptive to finding the answers, more engaged in the process, and that active seeking actually strengthens memory formation.
So being curious makes your brain stickier for information.
In a way, yeah. It makes learning less of a chore and more of an adventure, as the transcript puts it, more enjoyable and therefore more effective.
I love that framing. It makes it feel less like work, more like exploring.
If you're learning a language or lab work, if it's science, stick to my mind, that refers to making information memorable. Using stories, mnemonics, visual aids, whatever helps it, well, stick.
Okay. And go over something.
That's about review, carefully going over notes or concepts, especially before you need to use them, like an exam, reinforcing the learning.
Got it. And they contrasted that with cramming, which they said is generally less effective.
Right. Cramming is that last-minute, high-pressure attempt to learn a lot quickly. Spaced repetition is the opposite. Much better for long-term memory.
Okay.
What else? Carry on, basically. Keep going. Persevere. Learning takes time. Maybe take a break, like with Pomodoro, but then carry on. Don't give up.
That persistence is key.
Definitely. And mix up. We talked about that. Combining different learning methods, videos, reading, practice.
Keep it varied.
Yeah. And how sleep helps the brain sort out information, that consolidation process we mentioned.
The save button.
The save button, exactly. And then two really important ones. Stay curious, keep asking questions, maintain that desire to learn.
Fuel the adventure.
And finally, give it a try. Be willing to experiment. Try these different techniques. See what clicks for you.
Yeah, because not every technique will work perfectly for everyone, I suppose.
Exactly. It's about finding your personal toolkit. These phrases really capture that active, adaptable approach the transcript promotes.
Okay, so boiling it all down, the main message seems to be learning faster isn't really about speed or rushing it. It's about being smarter, more strategic with how we use our time and energy.
You've got it. It's about understanding the machine, your brain, and using methods that work with it, not against it. And their suggestion is great. Just pick one of these ideas, one tip, and give it a try this week. See what happens.
Small steps. Okay, so let's quickly recap the big takeaways from this deep dive for everyone listening. First, remember to actively review, repeat, and connect new information to what you already know. Build those bridges.
And embrace active learning over passive listening. Get involved. And use spaced repetition little and often beats cramming.
Right. Use short, focused study sessions. Maybe try the Pomodoro technique, those 25-minute bursts with breaks.
Yeah, and mix up your learning methods. Read, listen, watch, do, engage different senses. Keep it fresh.
And don't forget sleep. Prioritize it. It's that crucial save button for consolidating memories.
Absolutely critical. And finally, fuel it all with curiosity. Stay inquisitive. Ask questions.
Makes learning an adventure.
It really does.